Why do corrupt leaders receive worship instead of condemnation? Why do men who lie, cheat, and exploit not only survive but rise to power, even becoming symbols of loyalty and devotion? It's one of the oldest and darkest paradoxes of human history. From emperors and kings to modern presidents and dictators, the corrupt are not always cast down in shame. They are often raised up, celebrated, and remembered as saviors. But why? Why does humanity bend the knee to those who betray them? The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche saw this clearly. He believed people are not guided by morality or reason as much as they like to imagine. Instead, at the core of human life lies something far more primal, the will to power. And in this light, the worship of corrupt leaders is not a mistake. It is not an accident of history. It is a revelation of what human beings truly desire: strength, certainty, and the comfort of illusion. In this video, we will take a journey across history, psychology, and Nietzsche's philosophy to uncover the unsettling truth about why people worship the very leaders who exploit them. Let us begin in the ruins of ancient Rome. When Nero ascended the throne, Rome celebrated. But soon his rule descended into cruelty, excess, and madness. He staged deadly games, built palaces while the people starved, and even watched the city burn. And yet he remained adored by many. The crowd still gathered, still cheered, still clung to his spectacle. Move forward to the medieval world. Popes sold indulgences, bishops lived in luxury, kings exploited peasants, but devotion to church and crown remained fierce. People turned a blind eye because those institutions provided meaning, order, and the illusion of divine sanction. In the 20th century, millions marched in lockstep behind Stalin, Mao, and Hitler, leaders drenched in blood and corruption. They were hailed not as criminals, but as saviors. And even in our own time, scandals that would seem career-ending often strengthen a leader's image among their supporters. The paradox is clear. Corruption and worship often walk hand in hand. Why? Why does this happen again and again? Psychology gives us a window. Human beings are not purely rational creatures. We crave certainty, belonging, and order. When life feels chaotic, the corrupt leader offers something irresistible: simplicity. Complex problems are reduced to slogans. Fear is transformed into a common enemy. Doubt is replaced by confidence. Studies on authoritarian personalities show that people often prefer obedience to freedom. Freedom is uncertain, risky, frightening. Obedience is safe, familiar, comforting. The corrupt leader exploits this instinct. He promises safety, even if he must lie. He projects strength, even if it's built on manipulation. And strength is admired, sometimes more than goodness. Once fear and belonging fuse together, devotion grows, and what begins as tolerance of corruption soon transforms into worship. And this is where Nietzsche becomes unavoidable. Nietzsche argued that beneath morality, beneath reason, beneath culture itself, lies a single driving force: the will to power. Humans, he believed, are not truth seekers at heart. They are power seekers, and those who embody power, who overflow with vitality, who break rules, who impose themselves on the world, will always attract followers. The corrupt leader symbolizes this will to power. His corruption is not hidden, it is displayed. His excess is not denied, it is flaunted. And for Nietzsche, this flaunting is what inspires awe. Because people don't only worship goodness, they worship strength.
even when that strength is destructive, even when it is corrupt. Nietzsche warned that most people prefer illusions to truth. Truth is heavy, difficult, often unbearable. Illusion comforts. Illusion seduces. The corrupt leader is a master of illusion. He says, "I am your protector." He says, "You are chosen, special, destined." He says, "Without me, there is only chaos." And the herd believes, not because it's true, but because it feels necessary. Nietzsche would call this weakness, the inability to face life without illusions. But weakness is widespread, and it explains why corrupt leaders become objects of worship. They give people the lies they need to live. Let's trace the cycle. In ancient Egypt, pharaohs were worshipped as gods, even while enslaving thousands to build monuments to their vanity. In medieval Europe, kings ruled by divine right, claiming their authority came from God, even while they taxed their people into poverty. In the modern age, leaders cloak corruption in nationalism, promising greatness while stealing resources, silencing dissent, and enriching themselves. And across all these examples, the pattern holds. People worship not in spite of corruption, but through it. Corruption becomes proof of power. Excess becomes evidence of vitality.
For Nietzsche, the herd instinct was the greatest force in human life. Most people do not want to stand alone. They want to belong. The herd elevates leaders into idols because idols give them identity. The leader becomes more than a man. He becomes the embodiment of the group itself. If he is attacked, the group feels attacked. If he is corrupt, the group redefines corruption as loyalty. If he falls, the group collapses. This is why devotion to corrupt leaders can reach religious levels, because in the mind of the herd, worship of the leader is worship of themselves. Here lies Nietzsche's darkest truth. Corrupt leaders endure not only because of their cunning, but because they reveal something within us. They awaken instincts we hide, the hunger for domination, the thrill of breaking rules, the desire to be led. When people worship corrupt leaders, they are not merely deceived, they are confessing their own instincts, projected outward. The leader becomes a mirror of the herd's secret self. And this is why worship is so powerful. It is not imposed from outside, it is born from within. But history also shows the cost. Rome collapsed under emperors who drained its strength. Medieval kingdoms rotted from within, torn apart by corruption. Dictators in the 20th century left behind ruins, graves, and generations scarred by fear. Worship of corruption always ends in decay. Nietzsche saw this too. When illusions dominate, when the herd clings to idols, decline follows. The question is not whether corruption will end in ruin. The question is only how long people will keep worshipping before they see the truth. Nietzsche did not believe everyone was doomed to worship idols. He believed a few, rare individuals could resist. The free spirits, the creators of values, those who dared to walk alone outside the herd. For them, the corrupt leader's illusions are transparent. They see the idol for what he is, a man built on weakness disguised as strength. The challenge, Nietzsche believed, is whether we remain bound to the herd or rise beyond it, whether we choose comforting lies or endure painful truths. So why do people worship corrupt leaders? because they crave certainty over freedom, because they prefer illusions over truth, because they admire power more than goodness, and because the corrupt leader is not only an idol, he is a mirror. Nietzsche's dark truth is that worship of corruption is not an accident of history. It is a revelation of human nature itself. The question, then, is not just about leaders, it is about us. Do we bow to idols, or do we break away? Do we cling to illusions, or do we face reality? Do we remain herd animals, or do we become free spirits? The answer decides whether corruption rules us or whether we rise beyond it.